everybody, welcome to episode 234 of Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. Mike, the Red Wings did not get the first overall pick. It's boring, ho-hum. Just so happens that the team that's hosting the NHL Draft this year and is going to have fans in attendance also got the first pick, so it's good for the NHL to know they're going to have a nice rowdy party come NHL Draft. You take from that whatever you like. Maybe you weren't aware of it, and now you'd like to be angry. There you go.
I know what I would like to take. I'd like to take this time to officially submit a request for the Red Wings to start hosting more drafts.
Ooh, well, I don't know. I think as sporting events go, they're going to give the NFL draft to Detroit. So it'll be a few decades before we get anything.
That's a little trial run for the big guns. We let the NHL
fans come home to the NHL draft to see who their team drafts. That's right. Literally dozens of folks have showed up from across, I don't know, Canada.
Many people lost, stumbling their way inside, just trying to find a little shelter.
When you're deciding that as an event manager, right, for the NHL, right?
Yes.
So are you just always leaning towards Canada, or are you like, you know what, we could probably, if Arizona had an arena, you could, pick Arizona, right? And just kind of cross your fingers. Or do you kind of look at like a timetable, like 5 years out? Well, this team's still going to suck, so maybe we can line this up right. Do you think there's any element of that? Or is it just, I mean, clearly with Montreal, they're picking a city. They know there's a ton of stuff that gets sold all the time. So they don't have to, they're not taking too big a risk here. They didn't have to hope that a first pick was going to be in the cards for the Canadiens.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt, because I still haven't seen it. I've only seen the results of the lottery. I haven't actually seen the ping pong balls be pulled by some NHL representative.
No.
It's still behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like, for everybody's sake, it should be public. I don't understand why it's behind closed doors all the time. Matt, if you were to put on your devil's advocate hat, what is the benefit of doing this in secret? And it could be something like the logistics of it, where I don't know if it's like there's like 10,000 balls in there, and then like once your team is already picked at like 10 or 9, then they we got another Red Wing one at 8. Okay, get all these Red Wing balls out of there. So I don't know if it's like that kind of logistics, or they are lying about the results. Matt, devil's advocate hat, why is this still not public?
I know they do like this weird thing of like it happens with like 3 different polls of, like they do 3 different draws, right? To figure out what's going to happen. And then they also have like these codes that break everything down. So I don't think it like pops out and you get to see like the New York Rangers logo or the Detroit Red Wings logo like pop up in there. I think it comes up with like a code, and then they break down the code, and it's for all these, I don't know, different ways of keeping it secret. I mean, they have Ernst & Young as an accounting firm. And then they have like SAP doing it before. So they get like these accounting firms, the same way that like the Oscars calculate who won an Academy Award, and everything's held tight and secret and coded and under some sort of lockdown, if I may. It just seems like there's a lot of precaution that maybe it is a lot of show, but there's a lot of precaution being taken, and there's a lot of confusion in regards to like what what would you actually be looking at happen if they did their draft lottery poll like in front of you? So to play devil's advocate, they would probably tell you they're saving you from a boring, I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes, right? To do all this, to do the ping pong balls 3 times and then figure out which team was which ping pong ball. Like probably 15 minutes total is my guess. If it took any longer than 15 minutes, then I'd be calling bullshit. That that sounds fishy. But yeah,
Right.
I don't know if I can make anything else up at this point. I think that's as devil's advocate as I can get. But that does imply, if I'm playing devil's advocate, that does imply that I absolutely think there's a conspiracy going on, and the number one pick is most definitely a major benefit to the NHL and to its future.
I think what's funny is I can totally see where somebody in a room would be like, to keep the integrity of which, balls we're pulling, there is a system, right? It doesn't show the Red Wing logo. But I think that actually makes me want to see it even more. Like, kind of like, it's almost like Cold War footage, or what was that Benedict Cumberbatch movie where he was cracking codes? Imitation Game. Like, I would almost want to see
Doctor
that.
Strange.
No, not that one.
The multiverse of.
No, thank you, man.
Hot dog fingers.
Imitation Game. Like, I would want to watch that. And I don't know if they think that it wouldn't be good TV, but I think it would be captivating TV with a lot of drama as we see. The only comparison I could think of, like pop culture wise, is when they had Employee of the Month on The Office, and Dwight had a system for Jim to use to keep the integrity of the voting. But unfortunately, it ended up being an evil plot to take Jim down.
Well, I mean, here's like, did you see Bill Daly call out these names?
No.
I mean, you're talking about Benedict Cumberbatch, who is a fantastic actor, telling you a story. And of course, they've dramatized it, so you're getting to skip a lot of the boring parts. But Bill Daly has 3 teams left, and he looks in the camera, doesn't smile, and just like his improv, like hope of, like good luck was just like, I wish the 3 of these teams the best of luck. And then he started reading who number 3 was, and then number 1, number 2. I mean, it was just like, yeah. I get what you're saying. I think with these guys, with their dry delivery, I think if everything is on the up and up, I think they are saving us from something. Because even if you watch this rigmarole of all these different polls and the coding, I watched that a couple years ago when we ended up getting the number 4 spot and the Rangers got number 1, and I couldn't stop fighting that it was all baloney and conspiracy theory against us, or maybe more or less just like for those markets like the New Yorks, and now we're gonna say, well, of course the Montreals are gonna get the first pick, not Detroit. Which is a pretty good market for the NHL. It just always confuses me why we get treated like this. But anyway, Mike, we got a bunch of comments. We got to start shouting out Charlie. First one in the comments was talking about Arizona could host medieval times or something instead of hosting the NHL Draft lottery, as we talked about earlier. Tristan coming in. He's already ready to draft. He's ready for draft talk. Brad Lambert is the guy, as we've talked about from early in the season. Of course, he's had trouble throughout the year. Trying to find a team that'll give him ice time, and as he continues to go along, he's found some struggles. You want to find a guy that knows how to do the basics and can skate? That's your man. From what I've seen, there are some struggles with his decision making. There's some struggles with there's how do we want to put this? I mean, if he wants to set up in his spot and get his shot, he'll be there. He'll take it. He'll get a good shot off. He'll set up too. He'll make those plays when he gets open space. But if he is challenged by a defender, he's had some trouble, and that's why the ice time hasn't been coming. So Tristan, we want to take a deep dive on Brad. I think that would be a lot of fun. We could take a look at the kinds of things that I'm talking about. I loved Brad at the beginning of the year, and I will just say I think there's good reason that he's fallen down the draft board. But that doesn't mean I don't want him. Just throwing that out there. That his skating is elite. He is an elite skater. He has amazing strides. He takes advantage of every bit of motion in his body. But we're getting too deep on one guy. That's not where we wanted to take this conversation. But Tristan, I'm glad you're coming in hot with who you want. I like it. Nothing wrong. Everybody throw out who you want. We know it's the 8th overall pick. So just gotta take a look at those draft boards and tell me what you're thinking. Now, Jared wants to know. Mike, here we go. Let's take Jared's question here and run with it. Unless you had something else you wanted to say about Brad.
No, I mean, that's what we're going to be doing, right? Is trying to find the second best center. Because number one is probably going to be Shane. So we're going to be, probably debating and, try to break down some tape of, the Coolies, the Lamberts, the Savoies. I don't know. We'll go through these names. But that's what this game's going to be. And it's whether or not Yzerman can, yet again, kind of get a crappy hand and still find a way to, win at poker. So he's got the resume. He's already done it before, but God dang it, I just wish he could get one good hand out of the gate. But yeah, hit me with that question, comment. What do you got?
Jared wants to know, I want to take this from two different angles. Does Yzerman trade the 8th pick for a player?
I'm gonna say no. I do think that he's still gonna want to try and find some more center prospects. Especially at the top of the draft. Because I think he likes club control guys. I think he wants cheap guys. Unless it's some offer you're really getting blown away with, I would be stunned if Yzerman did that. He hasn't quite shown that he wants to move first round picks like that. If anything, he will probably be a weirdo in this draft. People are like, this one's okay, but just wait till 2023. I actually would be surprised if Yzerman picked up another 2022 draft pick in some way, some fashion.
I was going to answer this, in a couple different ways where it's kind of like, does he? No. Is it a bad move? I don't think it is. I think it's something where you are asking yourself, do you want to hit the fast forward button on, if the right move comes along, do you want to hit the fast forward button on this timeline for the rebuild? I think by Yzerman's own words, I mean, he keeps telling us how much more patient he is than we are and how much more patient he can be compared to us. So based on that, him throwing that out there, based on him continuing to throw out there, he wants to build through the draft. When he gives us nothing for what the Yzer plan actually is. Sorry, I got a lot of mucus. This is going to be pretty gross.
Oh, we could hear it. Yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, long story short, we don't know what the Yzer plan is, but what he tells us is that he wants to build through the draft. So that's our one thing. So does that mean you're not building through the draft if you're trading draft picks? I think that's still an element of using the draft to build, because you have value to these picks and you could sell that. So I think if you're getting more value with those draft picks, like, you want to maximize as much as possible. And if Steve looks at what's going on and sees too many question marks, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He sees too many question marks on this list of prospects that's coming out. But sees more value, even if maybe he's taken a step down for like what the ceiling could be for one of these guys, takes a step down, gets something more sure, and lines up a top 6 center that maybe won't be the best center in the league at any point of his career, maybe never, hits that ceiling, or just has a lower ceiling. But if he could find that, I think he'd go after it. I just don't know. I don't know if you're getting a sure enough thing at the 8th spot that teams would take that bite right now. So I think maybe the reality of
The
what the spot
most,
looks like right now is probably going to hurt that opportunity.
yeah, I mean, as sexy and exciting as it would be to trade, the most value is probably going to be for Steve to keep it and draft a center. Because ideally, what would we be doing? We'd be trading it for, like you said, a top 6 center. So that would mean that the team we're trading with is so cash strapped that they're willing to give up a top 6 piece at a position of need to, hope they can find a developmental center and set themselves back like 2 or 3 years. So I mean, that's a very niche situation where there's a cap strap team with a top 6 talent willing to take a look at the same prospects that we're looking at and say, yep, there's our next one right there. Also, we're willing to, go into more of a rebuild right now. So, Steve, here you go. Enjoy winning right now. So I think that's what makes the trade of that pick unlikely because of what we'd be trying to get and, what that other team would then have to do at number 8.
Yeah, and I agree with that. We do have potential here now. Like later on here in the comments, Jared threw out there PLD. PLD is of course our Pierre-Luc Dubois. He was brought up a year ago and he was getting moved, going from Columbus to Winnipeg. Had a pretty good start, I feel like, to the point where we were like kind of kicking ourselves that we didn't ask Steve to go deeper into the Pierre-Luc Dubois game. My man, he's an RFA heading into the summer. We would have an opportunity to play this game here to maybe get some rights. I don't think I'm willing to move a first round pick for rights. But this guy, like, solid numbers, right? I mean, if we kind of jump back here, half point per game year before, 60 points in 81 games this year for Winnipeg. It's pretty nice. And then I also wanted to bring up too, we love our J Fresh stuff. And we're talking about a center again. So this is kind of crossing off one of those needs. But as we pull up this chart here from J Fresh, Mike, we're looking at a 73% WAR. And that's coming from maybe a little bit of a dip when he is switching from Columbus to Winnipeg, as you can see in the top right corner of his WAR percentile ranks. Takes a dip around 50%, but if you look at 1920 and 21-22, of course, this season, he is closer to the 80% projected WAR, and a guy whose even strength offense is in the top 10% of the league. Power plays very effective. For anybody who's not watching on YouTube, listening to the podcast, his power play ranking is 85th percentile, so he's in the top 15% of the league. And you know what? Maybe you could make the argument too. He didn't blow anybody's socks off with his numbers this year, so probably that next contract could be affordable. So a nice little call out there by Jared. It's something to keep in mind that could probably open up if you're going to attack Pierre-Luc Dubois, and I mean attack, him as a restricted free agent, attack those possibilities. Could open things up on the draft side. If you knew that was something that was going to work out for you, you don't necessarily have to focus so much on the center position. 23 years old, Mike. It's pretty juicy.
So I guess let me pose the question then to the people. So if you're looking at this Red Wing roster currently, you got Verana, you got Bertuzzi, you got Lucas, Raymond. I guess I'll throw Fabry in there. Do you feel like those are wings you're is that a spot that you really want to upgrade? And would you be willing to throw number 8 out for Dubois?
I think the situation with him being an RFA makes that almost like I would vomit pretty hard if we lost our first round pick to get to pull in an RFA. I think that this is somebody else is jumping in here. Hey, Brian, get out of here. Damn it, Brian. All right, well, we don't care about Jordan still. That would be so funny if that was somebody that was watching right now. But anyway, shit, where was my head at? Yeah, going back to the fact that his contract is expiring, I feel like there's a better way for this conversation to go down. Like, maybe not so costly is what I mean when I say a better way for the conversation to go down. So, I think Pierre-Luc Dubois is something we should figure into our conversations as we get closer to the draft, as we move into, as we move into free agency. I mean, maybe Winnipeg's even looking at Pierre-Luc Dubois and they don't see a future for him, and maybe they want to try something else. Could be too. Maybe they love Pierre-Luc Dubois and they want to move. They'll eat some of a Scheifele contract, and then we can kind of talk about that conversation about. It's not an ideal situation. I'm just throwing out there. I'm looking right now at the Winnipeg Jets situation. They have one of the higher cap hits in the league, and of course, it's not like they're going after a Stanley Cup anytime soon. So, yeah, I mean, looking at the 2023 draft, I mean, they're without a second round pick, so we could fill that void, which I would love, just to get those rights. And I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just gonna say a first round pick for Pierre-Luc Dubois, who right now needs a new contract. I would throw up pretty hard. I would be super sad. that's what we did. And Jared does throw out there his point on PLD. Comes down to who the head coach is, which I don't know how deep we want to get into that conversation, but got a pretty juicy one.
Well, I think we should try to, at least make take a few moments to bring up a guy who was recently terminated, recently became available. Matt Trotz, Red Wings, Barry.
I tweeted out that
former Stanley Cup champion, Matt.
Yeah, Barry Trotz is a guy where you kind of look at whatever your plans were for the summer, because this I felt came out of nowhere for the Islanders to make this decision. And I don't know. I think it's something where you kind of reassess what you were doing. Now, immediately, you have to ask yourself, are you ready for maybe an improved version of what Blashill was delivering? We talked about 2 years ago when the Red Wings were very clearly doing their let's limit chances on both sides. We used to compare that to the choices of Barry Trotz and talk about, a lot of dump and chase. But this is a game where you are assuming control by just keeping the puck kind of as close to the middle of the ice as you can, so that nobody's getting too many high danger chances. And of course, if you get too many high danger chances, you're giving up odd man rushes. So, or that potential for an odd man rush. So both of those are limited from either side of the ice, and you get to keep your man in front of you. And Mike, one would argue boring hockey. Are you ready for some boring hockey to bring over Barry Trotz?
Matt, let me answer by saying that I'm rewatching Breaking Bad for the fourth time, and in its entirety. And it's really Barry Trotz TV shows. No, what I was going to say is that there's a part where Walter White first meets Gus Fring, and Gus is like, "No, I'm not working with you because your partner's a drug addict." And then Walt says, "No, I need him. You got to bring him." So Gus says, "Why?" And it just made me think of Steve's philosophy with what it looks like he's going to be doing with this coaching hire. And Walter breaks it down and says, he does what I tell him, and I trust him. And I don't think that Trotz fits either of those, because we've heard, from Yzerman's mouth, I want somebody I know and somebody I trust. And I feel like if you're going to be part of the Yzer plan, I don't think that he's trying to get I don't want to say that he's trying to hire a yes man, but I feel like he's kind of already got like a plan and a philosophy in place, and he wants a coach to like re-emphasize those points. And I don't think that Trot's kind of coming in with his own agenda. As a guy who's already a champion and he's got he's long in the tooth. I don't think that he is what Steve is looking for. I think that Steve's going to try and mold a young mind. I think Steve is the Walter White, and I think he'd prefer a Jesse rather than a Trotz, a Jesse Pinkman.
I got to throw out there, I'm catching up on the comments, and apparently I screwed over Tristan here because that was PLD was his idea, and Jared just threw out a question is all I caught there. So Tristan, you get all the credit. Jared, damn it, Jared, taking all of Tristan's credit away. I just love this conversation that's going down. Jared throwing out there, no more shirts for Tristan. And then Tristan's, who's the favorite now? Jared? Depends on how many shirts he sends you. It was me, damn it. All right. Sorry, Tristan. You get all the credit. Jared gets nothing. Jared, you lose. Good day, sir. No. All right. Bill G throwing out there. I bet on Yzerman's number 8 draft. The foundation isn't big enough to take on a major free agent. Or we'll just say major free agent trade targets, except on defense. Bill coming in hot. But I think that's a call for us hanging on to number 8. I have a good idea, and it gets taken away. Jared calls that primo journalism. I gotta say, I'm right there, and that's I'm Helene St. James in it right now.
Matthew,
now,
how could you?
GLJ thrown out there, offer sheet, PLD.
I mean, we got the cap space for it, but I don't think Steve wants to give up the draft capital for that.
Yeah, do you remember when we were trying to decide if Elias Pettersson was worth it? Like, we were kind of looking at Pettersson, and he did finish out with a pretty good season, but we were looking at Pettersson as like a long-term difference maker. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, 60 points in 80 games is very good. I'm not taking anything away from that. But you don't look at 60 points in 80 games, look at what Pierre's done so far, and say that is one of your pillars. That's one of your core pillars on your team. I think he becomes a great piece for a team that needs their second line center. I think there's a lot to be said for that. But I also think immediately he becomes a guy that whenever there's trade talk and if this team starts to struggle, he'd be on that list of guys that you'd be okay moving. And I'm talking about like right now when you look at the Red Wings team, not comparing their skill level, but I mean like a Robbie Fabry. Like, of course we appreciate the goals that he brings, but at no point are you going to look at a Robbie Fabry trade and go, hell no, that guy is a Red Wing for life. He sticks here forever. So I'm kind of trying to just paint this picture for like, I guess the difference between who my core is and who's a great piece to maybe a potentially championship winning team.
Well, speaking of a great piece, Matt, if you bring up Elias Pettersson, who had a pretty solid season, he would have been second on the Red Wings in points, or you could have Edvinsson and let's say Brad Lambert. What would you rather have?
I got distracted by a question in the comments. Edvinsson and Lambert or
Elias Pettersson.
Can we just say, I think right now, with where we're at, and we saw how far away we are, like now it makes sense why we didn't do it. So I think I just want my first pick. I want my first round pick.
I would probably take Pettersson.
Yeah.
I think it just makes everything a lot easier if you have a couple guys at center. Then you can just kind of fill out the rest of the wings, and then all you had to do this offseason was focus on defense, where this offseason we're focusing on the whole side of half of our defense. We still need a top 6 center. And we probably want to upgrade a wing or two. But I think with Pettersson, it would have made a lot of those problems easier to solve.
Well, we do have, to your point, Mike, Doc O thrown out there, Lambert at 8th. So we've got Mike. I sounds like you're on the Lambert train. Tristan's on the Lambert train. Who else we got? Oh, Doc is putting in a call for Tristan to be our next head coach.
Not Pierre McGuire, I hope.
Doc O, is that where we're going? Are we going Pierre McGuire? Is that because we've been talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois too much and now it's stuck in it's stuck in the old craw? I don't know. GLJ, that draft capital for sure would be a big hurdle. Oh, Chewy's aboard. Chewy, what's going on? Chewy and I were chatting on Instagram. We're trying to figure out which Chinese buffet in the Howell area we're gonna hit up. That was fun. Thanks for hitting us up there, Chewy. That was a fun conversation. Jared throwing out there, Matt hates Fabry confirmed. I support that message. I'm just kidding. I don't hate Fabry, but clearly, I mean, that's not a guy anybody's like gonna be holding on tight to. Mike, I think you know.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, look at our mom. Our mom's in the chat, everybody. GLJ thrown out there. Barry Melrose, our next coach.
GLJ, you just got a lifetime ban. You're out.
No, he threw it a lull.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he knows what's up. Chewy thrown in there, and this is obviously the most level-headed comment we've gotten so far today. I'm on the train of whoever Yzerman thinks. Now, I did see, like, immediately, Mike, we had the Daniela Bruces of the world putting out there, I'm just glad that Steve's in charge. We had the Prashant Dyers of the world saying, guys, we're going to get a really good pick at number 8. Is there anything I want to hear less right now than, like, it's okay, guys. You didn't win the draft lottery. It's fine. Stop whining. This is not the day for that. We have, like 2 months to figure out who we're going to draft between now, over 2 months, and like what?
Yeah, that's the opposite of a hot take. That's a cold take. Just saying, oh, don't worry, Daddy will take care of us. No. Be a grown-up and speak up for yourself. Don't just say Daddy's going to do it. Who are we taking at 8, or are we trading the pick? Let's put on some big boy pants.
Well, just the idea too. Like, yeah, I know there's prospects out there at number 8, but there's always prospects out there. Like, we know there's going to be guys that are exciting, and we're going to talk ourselves into. There's one guy, Mike, that we could draft at number 8, and that's the only way it can go down. We all know that's the inevitable track of the NHL fans' mind. That's not what I want to hear right now. I want to hear conspiracy theories, man. I want to hear the stupid Montreal baloney with their getting a free first pick because, man, you know what? They just decided to suck. And then when we try to do that, we get screwed over. Damn it. All right, I really don't want to have that conversation, but there's something about reading that on Twitter immediately from every other Red Wings account where I was just like, yeah, I know. Just let me be angry for a minute. Let me feel my feelings.
No, you know what? You know what? The other reason I don't like that answer is I know that we can trust Steve and that he'll find a way to quote, the great Stone Cold Steve Austin to
thank you, Daco.
Turn chicken shit into chicken salad. But I just wish he could get a break so we could actually see what it looks like when Steve is assessing like the top centers available instead of at 8 when all the centers are gone. Including Lambert somehow. And we're having to sift through, the top couple defensemen that are left. So if those are all that's left, I trust Steve to find the best of those guys. But I wish that we could give him the opportunity to sift through the best, centers and find one. So I don't know. Daco, absolutely rigged. Even if it's not, I wish we could see what it looks like. Yeah, and Brad, yeah, I had that thought too. Need to have the next draft lottery in Detroit since you get the home court advantage, it looks like.
All right, so we got to talk about this. Tristan, Mikey, Brad saying hi to mom, Jared throwing out there, you raise good boys.
Good boys.
Why only the high for? I believe there's 2 children on this podcast.
I was first born. Yours is coming, Matt. Yours is coming.
Like I clearly see 1, 2 of her children on screen right now. I don't know. I don't know what to do right now. I felt like we had a pretty good Mother's Day. I felt like we went to the zoo. I don't. I did something wrong apparently on Sunday because I didn't get the hello. Jared. Oh, we know who the favorite is. I mean, there we go.
Sorry, Matt. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I just am loved a little bit more, it looks like.
Well, let me throw out there, Justin Shields coming in hot.
Here we go.
Okay, Justin will be right with you. Jared, Matt's adopted. All right, that was too funny. I saw that.
Can't even throw that one in there.
Justin Shields throws out there. Yzerman takes on Tyler. Oh,
I think we missed one. Yeah, there you go.
Vancouver's expected to re-sign Brock Besser, Bo Horvat. They're looking to shed some cap space. I can see Yzerman taking on Tyler Myers' contract for Vancouver's 2022 first-round pick, which is 15th overall. Just want to confirm that. Yep. If Yzerman takes on Tyler Myers' contract of 2 years, Detroit could get Brad, which he could fall that far. I think that's a legit conversation to have. That with how he's looked so far this season, I think it's possible for Brad to fall. Of course, if he falls down to 15 and like, let's say Vancouver or Vegas ends up drafting him like 15 or 16, he falls that far and Vancouver still has that pick, all that. I think that would be an amazing pick for those teams. I think Brad's got a lot of good, but I can also see him falling that far. But also he throws in there on his list, Conor Geekie. Mike, the best name in the NHL draft this year, Rutger McGroarty. Of course, coming over to U of M.
Is that a human season? Or is that the name of like a billy goat?
I mean, I did have to go to the doctor to get my Rutger McGroarty looked at. It was
removed.
It's benign.
Yeah,
my McGroarty's benign, but
that'd be a great number too if he's number 9. I got the benign Rutger McGroarty jersey.
benign and a half.
Justin Shields' idea is not that far-fetched because last I checked, Tyler Myers is over 6'7". He's 6'8", which is what Yzerman prefers, and it would fit right in with our gigantic lineup here in the next year or two.
Is there an element of being maybe a little disappointed though, if that's the direction we go, is still buying up contracts? Or are we just at this point, we get the immediate benefit of a draft pick, so it's fine. Like we don't have to play this waiting game. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between doing
when you say disappointment, I think what you're getting at is you are tired of weaponizing our cap space, and you'd prefer to kind of use it like a red carpet to bring in hot free agents. Is that what you mean?
I'm asking you a question, and I'd like to know your opinion on what you just described, Mr. Man.
On the situation I just described?
Yeah. No, I mean, you said you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say how I feel about it.
I'm asking for clarification.
You are correct, but the way you put it was incorrect. Possibly was incorrect. I don't know.
Okay, so what is your question, man?
Come on. Would you be disappointed if we were still using our cap space to bring guys over and pick up draft picks? Obviously, the alternative is it's time to spend some money.
I don't think disappointment's the right word. It kind of feels like accepting the inevitable, because I don't think that Yzerman really finds, a Trocheck worthy of his cap space. So I think he would prefer to get more draft capital and gobble up, non-ideal contracts a la, Myers here, as we're going to look at in a second. So I don't think disappointed is the right word. No, I wouldn't use that word. I think it's inevitable because it's not the sexiest UFA class unless you really want to talk yourself into Filppula. Jeez, oh Pete, man. Fucking guy from Nashville. Why did I call him Filppula? Forsberg. Jeez, oh creep. Yeah. Unless you want to talk yourself into Forsberg. That's the only real one I'm excited about.
I mean, it's a Red Wings podcast. It's fine that you're thinking about Red Wings first. But so the reason I asked the question the way I did, and I tried to do my best Edward Nigma, is I made it into a riddle, was only because we've talked about before how we don't want to do this anymore on past episodes, which is why I asked that question. And I was attempting to lead the witness because I wanted to catch you. I was going to get you. But I go back to my previous point. Like, you get immediate satisfaction. You get to see this draft pick turn around right in front of your eyes. I think if we were playing that game like at the beginning of the season and we've got to let things play out, and we don't get to draft a guy who we could start to figure out where they're going to fit, figure out what their timetable is, do the development track and get that moving. I think that conversation is easier to stomach than like at the beginning of the season, we have to eat Tyler Myers' contract. And then we're like, all right, let's wait. Then we got a first round pick for 2023 coming. Here it comes. Here comes the old draft train. Like that. That's just like, that's you get like a little bit of excitement, right? It's not enough anymore. But again, that quick turnaround, much easier for me to stomach. Does that make sense? That would be my argument for it, despite the fact that I've made a pretty hard argument that I don't want to weaponize the cap anymore, and I want us to make more positive movements.
I mean, I don't know if I would quantify it by saying, or qualify it by saying, better movements. I mean, then then essentially you're looking at the available guys and talking to yourself into like, Gaudreau or Kadri. I don't know if those are gonna be they're gonna be expensive guys, and I don't know if they're guys that are gonna turn the team around. And from the very few glimpses of what we've gotten from Yzerman's plan, it sounds like he's definitely gonna punt. He's gonna play the long game. He's gonna play pragmatic molasses moves instead of something with sizzle. So would I be disappointed? No, I think when you talk about are you gonna actually be a part of free agency, and for me that means like old school Red Wingsing it, or Yankee style free agency where you just who's the best guy, he's going to be on our team. Because I think when you think about free agency and the Red Wings, getting win now players and we have all this space, I think that's what you have in your mind, but I don't have any indication that that's what Yzerman wants to do. So I feel like his plan is to get more draft picks, keep weaponizing, and keep slowly chugging this thing along and waiting for his draft picks to go from prospects to NHL players. So I kind of feel like how I felt tonight with the ping pong balls, because I didn't really expect us to move up to one or two. And I feel like I'm in the off season, it's supposed to be a really exciting time because there's so many possibilities and opportunities, but I don't feel like we have any precedent for Yzerman going bananas in free agency. So I'm not going to use that word disappointed. I think it's just going to be, like a lot of the talking heads on Twitter today, we're still going to get a good prospect at 8. And, whatever Yzerman's plan is, if it's to weaponize the cap, get a couple more draft picks and pick up somebody who's, a little long in the tooth with, an expensive deal. And that leads to us getting more, chances to hit, on a guy at, maybe in this case, what was it, 15th in this year's draft? Just seems like a much more likely outcome for us.
Now, got a ton of comments, so we got to jump in here. Tristan letting us know. Now, I haven't done a ton of research on Conor Geekie, but Tristan, early opinion, Mike, Geekie stinks.
Throw in the shade, Tristan. Woo.
Now, we did highlight Jonathan Lekkerimaki. Shoot, that was like a month ago. We were taking a look at some sweet snipes, some sweet jellies.
The SHL dude?
Yes. I think that's one that we'd be excited about, or I could talk myself into being excited about it. But I do want to lean at least towards a guy that's playing some center right now. Even though when you look at the Lamberts and the Nazars, there's a lot of conversation about will they still be a center once they are in the NHL. So if you could come to that conclusion and tell yourself that you're not getting like a center once these guys are ready to play in the NHL, then yeah, that's where I think from what I've seen so far, I would go Nazar and Lekkerimaki. Sorry, Tristan. Before Lambert, if it looks like they're all, and Lekkerimaki definitely isn't projected to be a center, but if Nazar and Lambert are also projected to be wingers, and that's what you're judging at, like from that position of the draft board, I kind of. I do really like Nazar. He just had a really good stretch of games playing for the U.S. national team. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it. But I do, Brad, I like the call out. That's one we don't want to forget. And, of course, at our 8th spot, if nothing changes, that's definitely someone we're going to be talking a lot about in the next 2.5 months. Jared pointing out Myers is 32, 18 points, and plus 15 at right D, but we need a lefty. Now, Jared, my only thing is we did kind of go pretty hard into the fact that I can't get super confident about any position right now that we're set at. Like we know Moritz Seider, of course, first pair right side D,
first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
First ballot Hall of Famer.
But I mean, our left side is Wallman, Mark Stahl, I guess, if we re-sign him, and then nothing.
The bigger hole is lefty. I would just say I wouldn't.
Oh, you mean on right D too? You want me to go through that? Who's who? Hronik, Mo.
I'm not at the point of saying no to anybody because of their position. Man, am I talking out of both sides of my mouth right now?
No, Matt. No, let's commit to this. We could use a right side defenseman. I mean, we need left more, but we definitely could use upgrades wherever you can get them.
And Jared too. You know what? We also could be sliding into the right side being the side of need because we're also talking about Edmondson coming over. We're talking about Albert Johansson coming over. Probably not Wallander this next year, but Wallander the next year. There's 3 left side defensemen right there. So in a year or so, we might not even have enough room for Wallander to fit in there if we're picking guys up on the left side of the D. So it's possible. It's possible that's our next trouble area is the right side D. So I'm just saying we have enough holes. I'll take any.
There's a lot of holes in this ship. Okay, so
Eric Johnson thrown out there. Geekie, not good on his skates. Mike, priority number 1 if you're a hockey player.
Put him out there with Rasmussen.
Yeah, that's what Tristan.
Exactly. Hey, Tristan, my man.
Why is Tyler GLJ? Why is Tyler Myers' name visible in relation to the Red Wings? I think we're just talking about some names that. It's so funny to play this game of like weaponizing the cap because you've got to go in this area of like, all right, who's not playing up to their contract, but I can stomach. But also this team is cap strapped. It's just, there's so many different variables, but that's GLJ. That's where Tyler Myers comes into play. It was because we see Vancouver at the top of the list for cap friendly of teams who are going to need some cap space. They have some big contracts coming up as they seem to have every year and they still stink. So a lot of problems in Vancouver, but we're trying to take advantage of that. Will Vancouver, who is struggling to make it to the playoffs, give up a first-round pick just to move Mr. Myers? Oh, man, we have so many comments. This whole thing just updated on me, and now I'm lost. All right, Tristan, he's ready for Philpla to come back.
You know what I think it was, guys, with the Philpla? I was
Noted
playing with my
Tootsie.
own hair, and Forsberg's name is kind of Philpla. So anyway,
I mean, he was only on our team, what, 2 years ago? We were 2
it
years
wasn't that long
removed
ago.
from the
Yeah.
return. Yeah. We could go for another Philpla return. It'll be his third time coming back to the
What is he, like Ric
Wings.
Flair? He just comes back every 5 years and comes back to
Right.
the WWE. All right.
All right, where are we headed here?
Well, he said we had a flood of comments come in. What do you got?
I know there's just so many. It's hard to pick which one to go to next. I like the short comments, but everybody's giving me really long comments, and so like what I have to do is talk to you and read them, and then also decide if I want to bring them up. Like, can I speak to that capacity? And I'm doing it right now. I'm just, what do you call it when you're just rolling. Kenneth Butler throws out there, really? We have $49 million. Let's go get some free agents. Let's get it. I like that attitude, Kenneth. I mean, I get it from both sides, right? Like, and God, we've talked about it for like the last 6 months because at first we were ready to go to the playoffs next year, and now I'm worried how hard we're going to be leaning into the Bedard conversation for the 2023 draft. But yeah, just like we talked about Trocheck, right? And he's having a pretty good first round of the playoffs against Boston. Most notably, I love that shot off of Olmark's head. I think that was the first game, actually, the playoffs. But having a good run at it, but it's just kind of one of those things that you're going to have to pay the guy because it is the unrestricted free agent market. And so you are paying a little bit extra so that you can outbid other teams. Of course, that's mainly just for the guys who are worthwhile. And that's what happens. I feel like you're adding like $1 million or so and probably an extra year to a contract, if not two, to make sure you land the guy that you want so that your team is at this position right now to be as successful as possible. But with all these contracts coming up of Larkin, Bertuzzi, I don't know if we still want Bertuzzi, but eventually the Sider contracts are coming, the Lucas Raymond contracts are coming, and after that, you know, if Edmondson's playing next year, that means Edmondson's the year after that. It's just, and we're learning so many things. I learned that the Berggren contract lost an ELC year. Like it's down to 2 years. There wasn't a call up. We just lost a year of his ELC. It's gone because of his age. So if Berggren is notable, then we're gonna have that contract to take care of. And is Trocheck, with the way that he's trending, is that a contract that you want to be getting in the way if we aren't on track to make it to the playoffs in the next like 3 years? If you think we are, that's where the conversation goes. And the other part of it too. Do you think being on track for the playoffs is enough? Do you want to be more in that conversation of being a Stanley Cup contender before you start making those big splashes? Or in the vein of like, all right, I had a couple of guys, now I'm in the Stanley Cup conversation. Not necessarily that you are a cup contender, then you sign Trocheck. You know, it falls in line in that direction. But anyway, there's so many variables to pick apart. I was leaning hard into make a big splash in free agency a few months ago, and I have certainly pulled back on that.
Well, I mean, the theory is always fun, but I mean, you got to see what the players are that are going to be available. And then I know that Yzerman, he's not even looking at this year's crop of free agents. He's looking at 2023, 2024 when he's got to, you know, have a big deal for Larkin, like you said, maybe Bertuzzi, or finding some way to trade that guy. You know, you already kind of rattled off a few of the names there, but whoo, the cap sheet's wide open. But you know, you also got to keep your own guys somehow and make them feel like, hey, if you stick around, we're actually going to win this time. And I mean, how many times can you promise that to Larkin, and then maybe trade away his best friend in Bertuzzi, and then also watch this team be in the toilet again? So, I mean, they could be toilet his entire career. And hey, why don't you just stick here forever? So, I mean, I think you want to start having some incentive for this guy to staying in Detroit besides, gee, Willikers, I'm only a stone's throw away from Waterford. You know, I think he eventually would like to win some hockey games and see what the playoffs are like. You know, instead of listening to podcasts all summer and going golfing. I think he wants to play meaningful hockey games. So it's a lot to juggle.
Yeah, Bill G thrown out there. I like this comment. They've got to eliminate the 40 shots per goal on the goalies. Need free agent or trade for a defenseman. I think too. Like I like that comment where we've got to do that. I think you do that, Mike. If you bring in Barry Trotz as your head coach, I think you can get a lot of different teams figuring out how to stop the 40 shots per night. Justin throwing out there thoughts on Pontius Andreasen. We talked about him when we first brought that contract in, or at least how it was being reported over in Sweden. Doesn't hurt that Mike, we had 2 rookie of the years, if you remember that, over in the SHL. Pretty sweet deal. You bring over 2 of the 3 when you got Andreasen coming over. This is our boy that was he had some slick moves when we were going through the highlight reels. Outside of the highlight reels, I mean, I don't know how much more we could take from it, but the fact that he's made such a huge impact that, again, getting nominated for I'm gonna call it rookie of the year. I just off the top of my head, because I can't really remember what was going on there, but we did see a guy that was making, like I said, those slick moves. He was doing those Michigan goals. I mean, this is something that was exciting to watch in a highlight reel, and there's accolades to show for it already. So if you're going to steal one, if you're going to bring a contract over that maybe the rest of the NHL was kind of eyeballing and hoping they were going to take it, I think it's good that the Red Wings were able to get that win. I don't think there's anything bad about this. We are looking at a guy 5'10", so that's not the most exciting number in the world, but I don't hate it. He's still young at 23, 183 pounds. It works for me. I want to see what happens next. And I think we've got to see what that transition to North America looks like. And I'm saying a lot of obvious things here, but I think that's the right way to go about it. Like if we talked about this guy and said, boom, like that, this is a guy that makes it to on the NHL roster next year, no problem. I think he'd be crazy. I think it'd be crazy to look at a guy with what's been going on in his career so far and just stamp him. Good to go, NHL player.
Yeah,
but
I think the reason I'm you want to be optimistic. I'm more excited about Berggren than I am Pontus. If only because we've kind of been burned by these before, like the Ville Lanos, the Damian Brunners, where we were really excited about a European free agent. It didn't really pan out. So obviously they're all different players. Really excited to see Pontus, but we got to see him. We got to see him in Traverse City, see how that looks, and then hopefully in Detroit. But I'm gonna curb my enthusiasm for now. That's my stance.
Some fun numbers. The 38 points in 52 games in the SHL playing for Luleå. Mike, the playoffs, 13 points in 12 games. Pretty good. Does not hurt. How about last year playing for Hockey Allsvenskan? I love this name. Björklöven was his team. And of course, Luleå, as I called out before, actually Lulea, as we learned from our Swedish friends, pronounced again Luleå, not Luleå, which we fucked up pretty good. All right. I think we are running out of gas here, Mike. We're at an hour. I was kind of telling you half-hour tops, and then we'd be done. So we're well over that right now. Let's do this. Clearly, we missed this past weekend. We still need to do our Little Caesars ranking for all of our Detroit Red Wings. I think maybe we can finally say that's going to happen this upcoming weekend, Mike. Everything
yes.
Okay. Yep. All right. So it's Tuesday night. We're recording a day early. Podcast listeners, unfortunately, there may be a ton of news that comes in from the NHL Wednesday, but you're still getting all of this episode on Thursday. So be patient. But coming up this weekend, if you guys want to watch on YouTube, we will finally be recording our Little Caesars rankings. Little Caesars pizza, menu items to rank the Detroit Red Wings and how they perform this season, including guys who've been fired.
Oh,
We'll rank those guys too. All right, Mike, Tampa up 2-0 on Toronto. Hilarious.
oh no.
I mean, that's another thing too. Like we could make all these predictions. This is why we need the playoffs to end. Toronto is blowing. I don't care what they say. Toronto is blowing this team up to some extent if they can't get out of this first round again. Carolina up 2-0 on Boston. Love to see it. Oh man, Florida. How about yesterday? Thank God.
Yeah, I was
That's
really
my
nervous.
team.
I was really nervous about that, and then thank God they finally they was it 2-2 now, right? It's not a complete.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they would have
Yeah.
been down 3-1.
Yeah.
It would have really hurt to watch the rest of that series. Verhaeghe coming through in overtime, and of course, scoring with just a couple minutes to go. Sam Reinhart put one in to tie it up, and this is after like this huge hit that resulted in helped result in like the 2-1 lead for Washington. It was just an ugly hit. Was not a fan of it. But yeah, I think as long as Florida comes back and gets that win, everything's okay. We're all hunky dory, and that's my series right now. I feel like, I mean, like Pittsburgh's taken down the Rangers 7-2. Of course, Colorado's done. Calgary and Dallas going back and forth with trying to see who can score the least amount of goals.
Yeah, I just didn't think Shesterkin would just completely crap the bed.
Somebody pointed out that all of these games are happening after Igor waved goodbye to the Pittsburgh Penguins after he shut them out within the last month. That point made me go, oh, shit. Might be true.
Yeah, the beautiful disaster for me is still Toronto blowing it. That's the one I'm glued to. That's what I'm going to be staying up to watch tonight.
Jared, last comment on here. If not torts, we go back to the Gronborg conversation. God, I still hope so. I love that passion. But we'll isn't this boring? We'll see.
It's going to be an SHL dude, I'm telling you. That's what's going to happen. It's not going to be the Trotzy.
Yeah. All right. Guys, we're going to sail off into the sunset. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you are new to the show. And if you want to support us, BODpodcast.com.
If you have kids, make sure you say hi to both of them.
Go to BODpodcast.com. Hit the shop button if you guys want to pick up some Red Wings Rant swag. And, and it's Spotify. You can rate us. And, of course, Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. Does us the most good for people to find us podcast-wise. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Jared, Chewy, Bill, Justin, Tristan, I think he's gone, GLJ, Brad, Kenneth Russell, I saw your comments. We kind of pointed everything out, but I appreciate you coming along. Butler, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Eric Johnson, who am I missing? Who is Doc O? Liked your comments. Who's with us on everything being rigged. All right, see you guys later.
Bye.